Now.
All right. Welcome everyone, and let me also introduce myself shortly. I'm Edin from Webversiert, a small agency, Shopware only agency in Germany, in Essen. And I'm also a board member of Shopware United, mostly for technical stuff involved. And so far we have this event and have a nice topic for today. And we have therefore having two guests with they can talk with probably hours of to this topic, but we have not that time. Last time we had the topic about Shopware apps. It was a hot one session. I hope this one will be more a little bit different, but quality time will be in focus. So our two guests are at once Björn from Shopware and Nikolaj. So please, guys, yes, can you introduce yourself with 2-3 sentences before we start with the topic? So starting with you, Björn.
Yeah, I'm Björn, working for Shopware. I'm the engineering lead of Composable Frontends and the storefront team. Yeah, so basically my team is building Composable Frontends and all the package you need.
Yeah. Nikolaj?
Yeah, I'm Nikolaj. I'm CTO at Bevco.dk, the largest online retailer for beverages in Denmark. We recently implemented a composable frontend for Shopware. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
Yeah. The idea is that we have two guys because with Björn we have someone who can tell us about the state, present state of composable frontends and of course of the road. Talk a little bit about the roadmap or something about the past, as I heard. He will also tell about that. And with Nikolaj we have someone who has how do you call it, in-field experience in integration and can also tell us what is going well, perhaps something where he sees still some problems and what are his wishes for the future, so that we have these different perspectives on the topic. And when they are, we will start right now with Björn and following Nikolaj, and when they are both done, we will hopefully have a little bit of time so that everyone can ask some questions on them. And yeah, that's the idea of the meeting today. So with that, Björn, you are on the stage.
I'm starting with, I start sharing. And presentation mode somehow here. So you now see the presentation, right? Yeah, so basically today I don't want to talk or bore you about what is composable frontends. So because we have a lot of blog posts and videos already about the composable frontends in general. Basically what I want to do today is like looking back, what have we done in the last year and what we are planning for this year. So in general, I would say if you don't know composable frontends, just I would describe it in 2 sentences. Like it's a toolkit for building custom frontends. They are mainly headless, and it's based on Next and Vue, but it could be also React or something else. So basically, the difference between the default storefront is an out-of-the-box solution. And the composable frontends is like a toolkit, and you choose what you want to have and how you want to build it. So it's for custom templates, shops, and so on. But I would also like to highlight it's not like it does not need to be a big, complicated setup or project. So it's also possible to achieve very fast having a front end with composable front ends. So if you base it on the demo store and stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, just that. So if you have a question about that, yeah, we can also talk in the Q&A about that. So what have we done in the last year? And for me, so I started last year, February, working for Shopware. Before I was working 10 years for an agency, and we're also building a headless solution there. But what I really loved during the year was like, at the beginning, we decided to work open on GitHub and not hide our work in GitLab or something like that, so that the community can also see what kind of problems we have, what feature requests we get through issues and all that stuff. So that was really cool to see that a lot of people also created own pull requests. We closed a lot of pull requests and also merged a lot of your wishes or changes and all that stuff. So I just want to say thank you. It was a nice year to work with the agency, the partners, and we had a lot of good discussions. And also, if you're starting with or thinking about using composable frontends, there's also the possibility like having a meeting to kickstart you, so give you some insights, answering some questions you have. So that was really nice, and some agencies or partners using that a lot, and some not. But yeah, so I just want to mention that you have the possibility. And yeah, so when I'm looking back on the topics, what we're currently doing or did also for the 6.6 release is we improved the Open API schema. Basically, or most of the parts of the store API, because we're using mostly the store API. Still, there are some ongoing tasks, so it's not completely done. But this allows us to do a lot of different things. Like when you have a clean Open API schema, you can also spin up, for example, a GraphQL server, or you can use that schema to transform it in an API client or in TypeScript types and stuff like that. So basically, we want to achieve that we have a really good Open API schema. And also we want to have validation for that, that it stays very good and does not have any errors and stuff like that. So we focused on that the last year, and also building this new API client. So when you used composable front ends with an old version, there was an API client written by hand. And with the new API client, you can read the Open API schema and generate the types, and you have all the endpoints and all that stuff. So it's really nice developer experience. And yeah, that was our focus. So we changed, I would say, the base, also all the composables that are used inside in Next and Vue, are based on the API client. So under the hood, the API client was changed, and currently we are in kind of a transition phase. So we are not completely done with that, but we're aiming for a release to have a stable API client, and more about on the next slide. Yes, and then we also said, okay, we want to have more integration, more examples, more features, because it's not helpful to just have composable frontends that is working headless if you don't have any payment, any content, CMS integration, or stuff you need. So yeah, we got a lot of feedback, what is needed, and we worked with examples where you can. So I would say not everything is into the demo store, because it depends on the project what you need. Like not everybody needs PayPal Molly, and not everybody needs language support when they just have one language. So we decided what to put in the demo store, what to put in examples. So in our repository, there's different stuff where you can look and what is giving you a kickstart to start. And besides that topic, we also started a React template and an Astro template. So I guess basically, yeah, there were more things, but let's focus on the outlook. Yeah, I forgot about the projects. Yeah, we had also some projects going live during the year. This is just also Nikolaj will talk about Bevco and his experience. And I also know some new brands, also big brands working currently with Composable Frontends, and would like to see going live in this year. So yeah, just some examples, and I can also share this presentation so you can check the pages in detail if you want. So the outlook. Yeah, like I said, we want to finish the API client. Currently, the new API client is really good. So he has this auto completion, and we have also a generator. But the feedback we got is, for example, currently you have an object and you put some parameters and stuff like that in there, but you don't know if this parameter is going to the body, to the header, or where is it placed. So we will have separate params per type in the future. And also we will add the language and the currency to the global header, so you don't need always to set it to the body. So small improvements we want to finish to say now it's really ready. So the API client is finished for us or will be released. And yeah, and when we have this release, and when you have questions to some of the points, by the way, yeah, we can do that later. Or what would be also nice, because I could talk forever and some topics I will skip. So if you give me a hint that some topic is important for you, I can talk longer about that, but I guess I don't have too much time to talk about every topic. So basically we want to finish the API client, and then we want to celebrate our release. And with the release, we will also change from the namespace. Currently, we have this namespace Shopware PWA, and in the future, we will only have the Shopware namespace. So the old packages stay, so we will not break any installations. But yeah, after some months, they will be gone. And then you have to change the namespace of the package. And yeah, the most interesting, or I would say, besides finishing and releasing the first version, celebrating, research and development is really, we have some really hot topics here, I would say. Because we want to connect, like you had the talk about Shopware apps, and the idea is to have a proof of concept to connect the app with the composable frontends. There are multiple ways to do that in our industry. Basically, the app should provide some JavaScript and some CSS styling. And yeah, composable frontends, yeah, calls some endpoint, knows which app is there and which files, and basically, yeah, you can have different solutions. Like you can work with web components, you can work with something called remote rendering, and also something like micro frontends is a topic. So this is we want to focus on research and development to find solutions for that, to connect the Shopware app ecosystem with the composable frontends. How that will be, yeah, we will see. And also related to that, we have the Shopware app template. So we hear from the community that it's sometimes difficult to host an app. And what we want to do there is we want to create an app template with Nitro. And then you basically can yeah, deploy an app with Vercel, with Netify and all that stuff. So it should be very easy. So the goal is easy deployment with the app, and to have a template here in the JavaScript world, I would say. We have also GraphQL support on our list to try it out. The cool thing about GraphQL is that you can also, it has a WebSocket and you can subscribe. So it's good for caching and minifying the output, because like, the store API or the Shopware API is very big. So it's giving you a big JSON, and in GraphQL you can, you can say what you want to have only, and you can subscribe, so you're getting information when some data is changing. So that's something we also want to try if this helps us. But this will be standalone, so it's not coupled into Composable Frontends or something like that. And we have to discuss also with the core team. And some of our developers want to create some CLI tool to bootstrap projects faster, and to help during development. So basically, I guess from other tools, like they asking you some questions and generating a skeleton for you and helping during the work in Studio Code, that you see, okay, how to override some stuff and help there. These are our primary goals, and we also have some secondary goals. I would say I skipped the new features. There are just some stuff like we want to have readable filters. And about the open API schema iteration, I already talked, so I guess that's okay. So readable filter, we mean like color red instead of color UUID.
Oh.
So,
Da hat gerade jemand eine Bewerbung abgegeben.
okay.
Werbekopie. Oder soll ich die vorne
Je
lesen?
nachdem, für welchen Bereich die ist. Ausbildung als
Somebody is talking
Mediengestalter.
about Bewerbung. Okay, what I find interesting here on the secondary goals is B2B template. So currently we have examples for the B2B components, so the new B2B components from Shopware. And sometimes it's a bit hard, because an example should be small and kickstart you, but sometimes you need also examples work together. So we thought maybe it would be nice to put the B2B components that are working somehow together into a new template. And because the demo store, I would say he was developed by good developers, but not designers. And we want to create a B2B template that is also led by designers. So we basing on the Meteor library. So maybe if you know already the sales agent project other teams are working on, they're using the same library, but it's and we want to put that all together. So like having a really components that are designed from atomic to the components and to the template, and then putting all the examples together there to support it. And that would be, I guess, a cool beauty store with focus on B2B. And later, when this is finished, we could also adapt that to the demo store. So when we have these components, we just can also upgrade the demo store and using the same components. So the goal is to have a package with done components at the end you can also use in your project. So because currently, to be fair, the demo store is good, but at some points it's too big, too complicated, and we want to clean it up.
Björn,
yeah.
just a small reminder to keep you the time in your mind. Yeah.
So how much time I have?
1 minute. No,
1 minute, nice.
You can take 5.
Thank you. I thought that would happen. Yeah, okay. So, okay, we have also rewriting listing filters, stuff like that. So cleaning up stuff that is grown over time, I would say. And also focusing on accessibility is also a hot topic on Shopware. So we will also help here. Yeah, this I just show you. So this is yeah, the last goals I would say we want to focus on. And maybe what is interesting for you is that we planning to have a headless ready tag for the marketplace. But there we are in discussion with the team of the marketplace, like defining criteria to say, okay, your plugin or your app is headless ready. So to have also the possibility in the marketplace that you can search for headless ready plugins. I guess that's maybe one of the important points here. And yeah, if you have other questions, so maybe we can about other points we can discuss in the Q&A. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Björn. Yeah, we can see how much time we have, so that we can also talk afterwards. But now I would like to switch to Nikolaj, who has the chance to prove or disprove everything Björn said. And so Nikolaj, please tell us something about your experiences with Composable Frontends.
So I need to get this working. I'm stuck on a laptop screen, so I had to get creative on how to share this. So just give me a second. I think you see my slides now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, looks good.
Yeah. So my name is Nikolaj, and as I said, I'm CTO at Bevco.dk. We're the preferred one-stop beverage shop in Denmark for in e-commerce terms, at least. And recently, we've become very passionate about creating exceptional online experiences for our users, which is also why I'm talking about composable frontends today. I'm really excited to share our experiences and to tell about how it has revolutionized our approach to building front end and how it kind of saved us in the end. Yeah, so as we talked about in the beginning, I really encourage you guys to ask some questions and share your thoughts, but at the end of the talk. So before we can talk about composable front ends, I think for a lot of people we should rewind a little bit. So before composable front ends, we had the monolithic approach. Bevco has 12 years in the boots, so it's kind of an old company, and we had the old Magento behemoth. It had everything included in one repository. It was wonderful, as they said in the office. They loved it, and they still do. They still ask, can we have it like it was Magento before? Because they had the VMS, they had the purchasing, they had the customer service in the Magento. It was wonderful. But at the agency they had at the time, they felt like Magento was going out of fashion and Shopware was the new thing. So they convinced Bevco to get this new Shopware thing. And it was still a monolithic platform. We just missed half of the stuff that we had before. So as you could imagine, the business was quite frustrated. I came along around 1.5 years ago and established a new in-house developer team, and we had to do something about it. We had to clean up the mess. So, long story short, we had to go composable as a company, not just the front end, but as a company. So we gradually selected areas to move out in separate, isolated software. So we went out and bought a VMS. We introduced Algolia as a search, kind of. Moved our customer service into Zendesk. We even started looking for a PIM system, but we ran away quickly again. That was not the way for us to go, because Shopware actually provided what we needed in those terms. But yeah, slowly moving the business into being composable to secure the future, right? We didn't want to end up in the same situation. So when we, in a couple of years, switch away from Shopware. Maybe it will happen one day, who knows? We wouldn't want to lose everything once again. So, fast forwarding. We've done some of the moving services out in other softwares. Now we needed the final step, right? The decoupled front end. And how we're going to do that? So we just knew we needed it, but not quite how we should do it. But we planned it out really carefully. So 2 weeks before my paternity leave, we started the project. The board gave us a month to deliver and go live. So yeah, we had to do that. And we went live in the middle of our peak season, where it's absolutely crazy. We are talking double to triple numbers than we do these days. And just before Christmas. And I was still on a leave. So I was not available. I have a pretty competent dev team, but you know, it's nice to be there when things hit the fan. And what could possibly go wrong? You know, you've got a month to relaunch your whole website in the peak season. And as a little disclaimer, our dev team did not have prior experience with these modern front-end technologies. We did not have experience with Vue, with Nux, with TypeScript, or anything. So jumping out in the ocean, gotta make it work, right? And that's where Shopware front-ends came into the picture. So we were quickly researching what we're going to do. We saw the Vue storefront. It's not our liking. And someone on a Slack channel saying, why don't you build it in Astro with Shopware frontends? I think, I'm not sure who it was, some Björn, I think he was called, suggested that we should do this Shopware frontends. I looked at it. The demo store looked quite nice. And it wasn't production ready, it said. But, you know, whatever. We launched within a given month. Nothing went wrong. Customers could still shop, and performance to this day is still getting better. You know, it's difficult because when you're matching up against the Varnish cache, how are you going to get good performance? Varnish is superior to a lot of stuff. A lot of stuff, not everything, but we're getting there. It's all thanks to Shopware frontends. We were able to quickly get started with the demo store. So we straight up copied the demo store and started working from that. We did read that it was not production ready and we should not use it for production, but we're going to do that anyways. Most of the CMS elements came out of the box, and that was really nice because that is some of the things you worry about. It's the dynamic area. Will it work in the headless? Like, if you worked with decoupled frontends before, CMS can be a pain. But it worked. It was actually quite nice. Took a little CSS adjusting, and you're just on with it. Some of the elements didn't work, but we got there. We could skip some of the cumbersome base work. So we didn't have to start from installing a new Nuxt installation. We didn't have to make an API client. We didn't have to do everything ourselves. And that was actually the most important part. We could just focus on adding value to our customer experience. Something that you actually take for granted a lot of times. One of the important factors is that we were able to provide a better mobile experience. 70% of our customers are shopping on their mobile device. Our old storefront was not that responsive. It didn't really work on mobile. And it would take us a lot of time to make it work on mobile. But with a low effort, we got the MVP running in a better condition than our storefront. So we launched it, right? Yeah. And what I said earlier about that we launched and nothing went wrong, it comes with a little bit of twisted truths. So we launched within the month, but we weren't done. It was better, but we weren't done. The thing about nothing went wrong, things went wrong, but we were able to handle it within a reasonable time because of the abstraction between the front end and the back end. It was no longer difficult to distinguish whether it's a back end or a front end thing. You could really quickly do things on the front end and just ship it. Yeah, and our customers could still shop. We forgot to close the old storefront. So even though we used our primary domain for our new front end, somehow they ended up shopping on api.bevco.dk using our old storefront. So that was nice. I'm not sure if it's a good or a bad thing. You can call it an unknown fallback. So yeah, we took it as it is. It worked. Our peak season went fine. Come on. There we go. So with the decoupled front end, and I've tried to make an illustration of how our simplified picture looks today. With the old monolithic, as we saw in the beginning, with just the front end, the search, and the back end in one big chunk, we now have separated it out. So we have the view front end in the front, and then we actually only publish the store API from the Shopware in a scalable cluster. And our site is highly leveraged by Algolia. So all of the hardworking things are down behind the lines. So our whole back office and Shopware admin is abstracted behind. And the heavy duty things like our queues and our backend things, they are abstracted so it will never affect our customers' response times. And some of these are made possible by abstracting things out in a composable architecture. For the front end, we're delivering features and bug fixes at blazing speeds now because it's no longer dependent on a backend or some twig templates or some extents or overrides in templates. It's super easy for us to distinguish where we have to probe and where we have to do things. We dare to deploy frequently. We have a lot lower risk across our stack when we do things now in the front end. These days, you do a lot of the work on the front end because the most important thing is fake it till you make it. So when you have a decoupled front end, you can fake it all the way in the front end and have whatever in the back end. So having that as simple structured as possible and reuse the components is just so important for us. So we dare to deploy because it will never affect the backend when we do things in the front end. It just can't happen. We chose Netlify for our hosting, and it has automated deploy previews. So those of you who don't know about Netlify and Versal, when we do a pull request on our front end, we get an automated Q&A URL with that version you're trying to merge in. So you don't have to have any Jenkins server that provides you with something very complex. It's easy and your testers will love it. We have a global CDN hosting. So whenever we want to go into another country, we already ready for serving at the edge. We have a simplified pipeline now. So the backend is slow to deploy, but it works there. But the front end, we can move quickly now. It deploys immediately. There's no caching thing. Netlify takes care of it all. And it has an insane rollback feature. So, and you really should not underestimate that. In our team, we move fast and we break stuff. We are not having 6 months code freeze or anything. We don't have a testing team. We do things, we ship it, we see if it works. And when it doesn't work, we fix it. But sometimes you don't have time to fix it. You have to roll back. And if you know about the monolithic architecture, when you roll back, you also have to consider what are the backend changes, are there any migrations you need to roll back? Do you have downtime? In Netlify, you just pick the prior deploy and it rolls out immediately. So it's really a bot saver. And now we're enabled to solve, I feel like saying any issue contrary to the storefront. We had some issues solving things at the storefront because of the tight coupling with the backend. But now we can always tell the business, yes, can do. So in retrospective, was it all a Cinderella story, just going with the decoupled front end? And was it just a nice dance on roses? No, it wasn't. There's two things. We didn't have the prior experience. I've done a lot of decoupled front ends in my past experience, but mostly in the API sphere, but not as the front end sphere. So we had to figure out a lot of stuff. Caching, we used to varnish. You don't have that anymore. Should you go with static site generation or should you go with the server-side render? How does it even work? We still don't know. Sessions. We don't have the PHP session anymore. Thankfully, Shopware frontends took care of all of the context tokens. But there's still some things we needed to add for the compatibility in the backend. Our backend subscribers, some of them died because we're subscribing to some of the storefront events that was issued. And they were no longer fired anymore. So we had to adjust some things. And some of our plugins just wasn't compatible anymore. And we never thought of that before we launched our site and found out the hard way. But was it worth it? Yeah, it was. Our developer experience is greatly improved. At least compared to how it was before. We feel like it's really revolutionized because a dull, small bug fix or feature on the storefront in Shopware could take days to fix for us. And now we can just fix it within half an hour and ship it, and it's live. It's 100 times easier to maintain, really. We abstracted it all. A lot of code got out of our Shopware, and you know, we can upgrade our Shopware a lot easier because we have a lot less code in our plugins and our custom code in Shopware, so we can follow and not be behind on something old. And one of my important part is that we expanded the competencies in the team. It's important for me that my developers learn something new and add market value to their heads individually. And I feel like we did this here in our team at least. So all of my developers learned a lot in this process, and we are going, I think if you ask any of them, they will do this from now on with a decoupled front end instead of the monolithic. Yeah, we have a lower coupling to the backend and simplified structure. So I would do it anytime again. So as the last thing, Shopware is really good at asking for feedback and in interacting with the community. I mean, and disclaimer, I'm not sponsored by Shopware yet, but they're really good at interacting with the community, and we've been some early adopters. So we experienced our things with the Shopware frontend, good and bad. So what could be better? I asked my team, and what we talked about is the documentation. We feel like it's lagging. It's both the API documentation, but also the Shopware frontends. What we also see is, as we are early adopters until now, is that the Shopware frontends documentation is greatly improving day by day, and they're really listening to the community. So they're good at documenting things when something is asked. We took the demo store and used all of the packages in there, and they're doing a lot of requests to the backend. So we had a lot of issues with performance because of all of the API calls and stuff like that. We could use some flexibility.
Nikolaj, sorry, just to remember also that we have 10 minutes from now for the QA so
This is
far.
the last thing.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so we could use some flexibility. And sometimes we don't feel like Shopware is compatible with decoupled front end shit. We're missing some things in the API, some basic things, like shipping prices in the API endpoint. Basic thing, we would like to show shipping prices to our customers. We had to custom develop that, for example. So yeah, And should you get started on it and is it production ready? Yeah, just get started. I mean, be real with your expectations. You need to do things yourself, but you get a lot out of the box. But just remember, nothing comes for free. You have to do something yourself. So with that said, we're at the end.
Right. Thank you very much. A lot of insights for me also. For example, that you say it is much easier to deploy because that's something I didn't expect it to hear, but it sounds very great. Now we should switch to QA part. Herbie, can you tell us how it works? Actually, have we some rules on that?
Yeah, people could either give a shoot out or put something in the chat, and then you are going to take over. So does somebody have questions? Raise your hand or put something in the chat.
Right now, then I can
Sergey.
start. Sergey? Oh, yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
No. No.
Go ahead, Sergey.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. It's really quite valuable input and insights. Really impressive what you did, guys. You told about the deployment of the front ends. That's quite easy and it's good decoupled, but if you need to provide new data or if you have some additional endpoints, like you told, you still have to manage the deployment of the database, backend admin, worker, and so on. And then you have also kind of then versioning between your front-end composables and API, or how you do handle this?
I always try to couple things we don't have any cumbersome processes or versioning. We make sure that we deploy our backend to a staging environment, and then we have the automatic deploy previews on our front end using the staging backend. So you test things out and you deploy it. So given that the front end deploys what we in developer terms will say instantly, you just deploy the backend. When it's done, you deploy the front end, and it's like that. So there's a small coordination between that. So if you sit in separate teams, you still want to coordinate those things. We do that in Jira, for example, with bloggers. So make sure that if there's bloggers, we need to be observant about when we deploy things. But we don't have versioning on our APIs or our composables or anything. Sometimes we do feature flags, but that's it.
Mm-hmm. And maybe one additional question on the infrastructure. If you scale out on the front end, then you can handle all the requests. In the backend, you don't really need in a high scalable system about the workers, about the admin. Do you still have then a smaller system, or you have also a cluster setup which can set up and handle more?
So we still have our clustered setup. Mm-hmm. And that comes out of I want to have a failover. So we at least have 2 API nodes. So if one dies, we still have the other one. And I want a load balance on front because then we can switch them out. But what we see is we also, our site heavily leveraged by Algolia. So all our listing, our searches, and even our product pages are leveraged by Algolia data. So all of our product data comes from Algolia every time. Mm-hmm. So that means it's also server-side rendered from Netlify. So our servers are almost standing still now. We could have a small node now. We will still have to abstract our workers and back office and our API, but you could do with a lot less now when you have server-side rendering and you have Algolia as leverage.
Okay, so it really can reduce the amount or the let's call it the backend part of your environments.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only when you add things to cart or you log in or you go through checkout that we issue our backend now. In broad terms.
Great, thanks.
Right. Some other questions? Chat. Well, I will use time to ask my question, and at least for myself, if I have everything from Shopware, even front end and back end, I am also have this kind of awareness that this is security is and all that attacks that are possible front end are Shopware is looking for that. Do you have any things about that when you make completely on this on your own, that some kind of attacks are more possible because you perhaps do not I don't know how you are probably experienced with that, but the question is how do you think about that with security and headless separate the front end from the core, because it's actually you are working on the demo and you make your own version of that forever, some kind of, right?
I actually feel more secure now.
Yeah.
Because well, you know, we were able to our back office, our admin login, we've put that behind IP blocking. And all of our admin API is behind IP blocking. So the only thing that you can issue in our Shopware now from the public is the customer API or the store API. So if you want to do security things there, go ahead. Yeah, we don't feel like it's an issue anymore. Before, when we had the big monolithic approach and we didn't IP block the back office, I feel like it was a big mistake to have it like that, because you could easily access the admin API or some custom API endpoints that you shouldn't have open and stuff like that. So yeah, it's easier for us now to abstract it.
Okay. Perhaps last question from my side. You said you also have to move to switch in company view, that also the company is getting some kind of headless, not just your front end. What had this kind of what kind of impact it actually had on your company, your people? What are the biggest problems with that to think differently?
The biggest issue has been, there's been a lot of frustrations actually, because when you ask a broad business, when you give them changes, they would like it as it was before. They like it as they're used to. And our process, we broke a lot of stuff prior to when our team came to the company, but the history, a lot of stuff has been broken, and now we're trying to fix it. So they feel like they wanted like the good old Magento because they had everything in one place. And now that we abstracted it out, it also came like we were scaling. So now each department has their own systems to work in. So it's getting there. It's taking a lot of change for people to get used to. And when you ask like this question, it's actually a good thing to reflect upon, because what we probably underestimated was the business change and the people change. And we should have been better at that. We didn't really think about there was also administrative people in the company that is impacted by this. So yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
There is a question in the chat from Daniel. How do you deal with CMS pages? Do you integrate a third-party CMS service, for example, Builder.io, or implement custom type CMS blocks and elements?
Yeah, so that's actually a neat question, because when you go with this decoupled front end, you can do whatever you want, right? You can go with like Builder or Storyblock. We chose to go with, given our 1 month of development time for a decoupled front end, we went with the existing Shopware CMS we had, because we also had all the content already and we didn't have time to migrate it. But now that you have a decoupled front end, you could easily change it into a third-party CMS service. We don't we put a lot of changes to the company, as I just answered before. So we're not going to move into a third-party CMS, but now we have the possibility. So yeah, we still use the Shopware CMS. It's quite nice, actually.
Yeah, and just as you can also mix them, like you can use the default CMS, and for special cases, you could use another CMS. So
yeah,
there's also nice possibilities if you have a team for landing pages, they're using a CMS, but you still have content in Shopware. So
yeah. So we're actually working on that as well, on implementing. We want cocktail recipes as a universe on our site, and we want to leverage that through Laravel. So we had the custom implementation somewhere else, which has directly implementation to Algolia. So we could actually take these CMS parts directly from a microservice.
Right. Well, we are out of time. As far as I can see, we have no additional questions. Thank you very much, Björn and Nikolaj. It was very, very, it makes a lot of fun and very informative for me. I don't know if this word exists in English, but anyway, thank you. And for our other people, we are now looking what could be our next topic for the next developer branch. So if you have any idea and want us to look for people who can talk about that, just let me know. I'm in Slack and Shopware community Slack. Write me a PN, and so that we can look if we get another fun and great topic for the next time. And yeah, so far, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend, everyone, and see you next time.